Strategic Hotbox with Dr. Brandi Stankovic. Discussing leadership, business, and how to take control of your life and achieve greatness. From the streets of Las Vegas, energized, informed, and never diluted. It's time to kick some ass.
Welcome to the Strategic Hotbox. It's your girl, Dr. Brandi Stankovic, and this has the makings of potentially being the best Strategic Hotbox episode ever. It is, the title first is Surviving Naked. Secondly, I am here with my good friend Stacey, and she is going to tell us all about what it means to survive naked, and she happens to be in small pieces of leather. And I am going to keep my eyes locked in her eyes the entire episode, and she's going to make me blush at least 10 times, and I'm probably going to stumble over words, but it's going to be amazing. So if you're just listening to the podcast, this is going to be one that you want to pull up and check us out as well. So let's get started. So surviving naked, why would we even have the conversation about surviving naked? And as you know, we break the podcast into 3 chunks, and we'll do it so today with this one as well. And that's the learn, the love, and the kick-ass. So in the learn section, we'll talk a little bit about what I mean in the metaphoric sense of surviving naked. In the love section, we'll get to know Stacey and her journey and what she felt to experience being in that situation. And then kick-ass will give you some tools and things that you need to start implementing today to make some things happen in your life. So mental toughness, surviving naked, what does that mean? I went to a hot cardio boxing class the other night, and it's my favorite class. It's like hot yoga, but you go and you do cardio kickboxing in this really, really hot room. And there's really no other kind of fitness class where I will push myself to absolute dizziness and exhaustion. And it still honestly doesn't prepare me sometimes for the mental toughness that is required in some other situations that I'm in. But literally, I love being pushed to that place of absolute exhaustion. And I do not feel that in very many scenarios. And how often can we get that chance as human beings to push ourselves to that place? We're so often mentally lazy, where we'll in cardio classes or maybe not go to the gym at all, or in situations be like, I'm tired, I'm feeling weak or whatever, and just give up. And so we have to build up that mental toughness to push ourselves. And I know I've shared in previous episodes, but when I did the triathlon with Jimmy a couple years ago in the swimming portion of it, swimming is probably the only competitive sport that I found that you can't just stop swimming. Right? When you're running and doing half marathons and things, you can just walk for a second and just kind of chill out and walk. Well, in swimming, if you stop swimming, you just can't stop swimming. Like you just can't stop swimming, right? So the only way to finish in a swim portion is to keep swimming. And so it really did create this perseverance or drive or hunger in me to want to finish. And that kind of exhaustion is really powerful. And it also creates a bit of a context realignment when you get to a place of absolute exhaustion. When I was in Africa, now I was fully clothed and in, driving vehicles and things. When I was there, I was there in vehicles that weren't like the ones that we have. And it's a different place, and people are experiencing different things. And I know I've shared some of this in previous podcasts, but I know that I got back to the United States after being with these kids that were impacted and all with HIV and AIDS and all of this stuff that I just experienced. I came back and I was sitting in traffic in a well air conditioned vehicle and eating some snacks and thinking to myself, this isn't stress. And so often people will think, oh, being in traffic is so stressful. Really? Clearly, you need a context realignment. You need to be chased by some tigers, or something to really know what stress is, and to chill out and appreciate how amazing life is, and how amazing that you have it, and know that there are so many people out there that are less fortunate. And what does it mean to really survive? And how can we be more authentic to ourselves? So that's where it kind of being naked rolls into it. And there's an awareness of being naked. And I was thinking about this the other day when I was walking around my house naked, but I was just being me and just walking around my house naked. And then somebody came to work on the pool or something in the backyard. And then I was like, and realized that I was naked. And I thought to myself, there's something to that, right? And I know that obviously there's a story from Genesis in the Bible, and, you know, regardless of whether you're religious, that you can recognize it as a piece of literature, that eating of the tree is when Adam and Eve realized that they were naked. And there is a difference between being naked and realizing that you're naked. And if we think about that from a physical sense as well as a mental sense, right? So there's the idea of being naked physically and the idea of recognizing that we're naked. So we're around people that were comfortable being naked, and then we're around people that were insecure, we're thinking about being naked. The same is true in a mental sense. How can we be mentally naked or emotionally naked, spiritually naked? And how can we really strip ourselves from all of the boundaries and barriers and things that we set up, and we really cloud ourselves with the noise and mental things that we put on ourselves, the baggage we put on ourselves? And how can we pull that away and live in a more centered and beautiful state of mind? Well, I think that one way to do that would be to survive in the desert naked for, 41 days. Was it 41 days?
40 days on the
40
second.
days and 21 days on the first, right?
Well, I only made it 6. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was injured on day 6, and I stayed a couple extra days, so they actually forced tap out on day 8.
On day 8. Well, let me formally introduce you. This is Stacey Osorio. She was born and raised in Southern California. I've known you a number of years, very thankfully, and you've been a good influence. I'll say good influence on me forever. Maybe I was a bad influence. No. We're a good influence on each other forever. She moved to Idaho to be around more nature and better resources. You have 2 beautiful kids, Michael and Mallory, and you have your bachelor's in biological science, and you're pursuing a master's, and you became interested in survivalism in life really early on, but an earthy kind of outdoorsy person. You've studied ancient warfare, body conditioning, and you've always really been into natural resources. You've done some mixed martial arts. You also were a contestant on Naked and Afraid in Eastern Croatia, which is where the forest tap out, and also Naked and Afraid XL South African Badlands.
Yes.
Woo! Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And thank you for wearing little leather.
Thanks.
So how did you make this little leather, first of all?
Well, I actually didn't get an outfit until probably day 30, and I wore. So this is actually a piece of paracord that's been fashioned around something it was used as a hanky by multiple groups of us. And then my loincloth on the bottom, this was actually...
You just lifted your loincloth to show.
Sorry.
I saw under the loincloth. I don't know. I was trying to maintain eye contact, and she's making it really hard. Okay,
so yeah, this was actually another girl's outfit who actually didn't make it through the challenge.
But
so
she
when
left
was,
her outfit.
Yeah,
okay.
when she was medevaced out, she actually stripped her clothes off, like what she had. Mm-hmm. And so what was left over, Alyssa and I, one of the girls I had finished with, that we made an extra outfit for each of us. Yeah.
Awesome.
So
I actually thought about, what does one wear when she's doing a podcast with her friend that's wearing small pieces of leather? And
that's perfect.
I decided on an Eddie Vedder shirt.
I love it. Yeah.
So
I think it's perfect.
So tell us a little bit about your journey in Croatia and South Africa and in surviving.
Well, this was basically to pay for school. I just really wanted to finish school, and it was the only way that I could figure out how to do it. And I took this risky chance of flying to Eastern Croatia, and I survived with a guy named Lee, and it was going really, really well until about day 6, when I was using the fire as my shelter, and the pot of boiling water spilled on me and burned close to 10% of my body, in which I was so devastated. I could not take the idea of going home, a tap out.
Right.
So I insisted that I stay, and I even got the Croatian mountain rescue team to, actually finagle their liability a little bit and treat me in the field. They're not allowed to do that. And they felt for me. They really wanted to see me go further in the challenge, and so they allowed me to stay, and it really made an impression. So by the time I came home defeated, and I was just like horrendously upset about this whole thing, I didn't want to tell anybody. And I couldn't tell anybody I was under contract. They didn't even know where I went. So they called me, and they were like, Stacey, do you want to do the All-Star 40-Day Challenge? And they didn't give me a location at this time. I didn't find it out until last minute that I was going to a South African game reserve in a region that was close to a 100-year drought, about 80 years worth of drought, and breeding season had been skipped once. So these animals are super agitated. And being a scientist... not only horny, hungry, and they were competing for water. So they threw us into a really volatile situation. So this second deal, where I was dropped in with all these all-stars with people that have already completed the challenge. And here I was, the only tap out from my first challenge.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I was the only one that who had not finished. So it was like going to summer camp in hell.
You were pretty much the badass of the group. Let's be honest.
They called me the burn victim before they knew who I was.
No,
yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it was shady.
Oh my gosh.
And then I find out they're like, oh yeah, we called you the burn girl, the burn victim. And I was like, oh man, that's messed up.
It's
guys.
amazing how I sit on my couch like eating snacks going, oh, that chick's not going to make it.
Yeah.
And like thinking to myself, like, who am I? Like sitting at home, like fully comfortable.
So many people feel that way.
Oh, I'm sure.
So.
Wow. So what is it like to go and just take all your clothes off and walk? I mean,
it's hard.
I'm sure
it's
it
really
is.
hard. You are basically being kind of left for dead. You're dropped in the middle of nowhere. Everything's taken from you. You're given a knife, some sort of blade, and it's some kind of primitive rite of passage, something that we don't have established in our culture any longer. But it's something that I was given this chance. So, I'm so grateful that I was able to do this. But yeah, everything's stripped from you. You're completely at the mercy of the natural world around you, and you have to use everything that's in your mind. I mean, it's all knowledge and applied knowledge and wit and intuitive instinct.
Unfortunately, I don't think they spend enough time on that on the show.
No.
On how much you guys know. Because I know how much you know. And I don't think they spend enough time. They spend so much time on the drama sometimes that they don't spend enough time on what it takes to actually survive out there. And you guys building the little kind of forts that you've built, the bomas, and you building, and finding the food and trapping and fishing and all. You did all that on your own, and I don't think that was highlighted.
They don't even show it.
Yeah.
They show just a minuscule amount of what actually took place out there, and we were doing great. I mean, it was absolutely incredible, and we had forged this bond of something that had not been done on this show before. That we were actually doing this as a unit because you couldn't separate in little cliquey groups, and it was too dangerous. Not in this location in South Africa, it was just far too dangerous. So yeah, I have never in my life figured that I would be in this type of situation with these people. I never went to summer camp as a kid, so this was like the ultimate being around people that I had to adapt to and learn to be tolerant of and care about at the same time, that you cared about these people.
Right.
And it's actually something I think that most people need to experience, like your triathlon deal, that it's when you're able to push yourself through something, especially with other people, it forges this bond that's unbreakable that nobody else can understand.
Definitely. So what are top survival skills? If everybody could know something, what would that be?
Top survival skills. Well, being prepared, mainly with knowledge and study, and pack a bug out bag. Keep things that you might need, a couple extra lighters, fire starters. I keep an aquatic net. I keep, plastic sheeting. I have this whole array of things. Knives, it's just good to have those things on you at all times because you never know what's going to happen. You can always obtain resources. So people that bug out and freak about not having, cases of water or a bunch of MREs and stuff ready, that's not really necessary because if you learn what's necessary to survive out there, you're not going to need to have all this material. You're going to be able to go out there and obtain those things. I
also loved your approach on the show and how you learned as you went too. You not only had some of the knowledge when you went, but you also learned like the idea, the berries towards the end of Naked and Afraid XL. You literally were one of the only ones, or the only one that didn't eat a ton of that fruit. And I thought to myself, like, here, you've already been through this. You're like, it has an odd, similar taste to that fruit that I ate before, and I'm not going there, guys. I knew it was from our organic chemistry class. How funny. It was this bitter compound that was in this fruit, and it didn't feel right. I just started, and you know what? Film production was like, oh, you should eat it. You have a long trek ahead of you. You need sugars. They didn't. Like, no way. Yeah. And you know what? One dude was medevaced out not 12 hours before. So the production company ate it too? Some of those people did, but they had food in their stomachs. Our immune systems were completely compromised out there. These people don't know anything. And half of the doctors in the medical industry don't know anything. You know what I mean? When it comes down to things in the wild that can hurt us as far as microbials and parasites and the microbiology of this world, what we know is so small. And
And so anyways, like they couldn't even pinpoint what it was. It was acute poisoning. And so they were having liver failure, actually kidney failure and liver failure. And my buddy Jake Nodar almost died. I mean,
Wow.
They could have died. Hadn't have any issues, afterwards. He had Bell's palsy. He lost, his face had paralysis for a good 3 weeks. He couldn't
Wow.
work. He's a horse trainer outside of Washington, D.C. He's got a really great business, and he was able to, he wasn't able to go to work. So it really affected him. And
He pushed for it too. He was really trying to survive. That was amazing.
it was horrible. And when you're out there, it's like somebody dies. It's,
I'm
yeah,
sure.
they're getting medical help, but they
You
literally
lose them.
disappear from,
So what is it? There's two kind of questions in this. When do you stop feeling naked physically? And then when do you stop feeling naked kind of spiritually, mentally?
I would say that you stop feeling naked physically right away. Probably within 15, 20 minutes or so, you get really used to it. But then when the weather changes or it rains,
You're reminded.
I would like to challenge everybody to go out naked in the rain sometime, or just walk around for an hour barefoot
Naked in the rain
outside.
sounds kind of fun.
Well, yeah, it sounds sexy and everything
Right.
until you have to sleep
Do it.
there.
And like sit on the ground.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got your burlap sack on your head, and you're like, my Phaedra was like a little naked rotisserie chicken around the fire. She just like turned her little skinny ass around. It was adorable. But yeah, it's absolutely kind of horrendous. It's this it's overstimulation. It's too much, and it will
right.
drive you mad. It's Chinese
sure.
water torture.
Right.
That's what it feels like. It's just every cold droplet that touches you, you can't sleep. Scorpions are coming out of your firewood. That's your source of heat and your shelter. And there's scorpions coming out and they sting you and you don't even care.
Right.
Because that's the least of your worries.
Right.
You're more concerned about keeping that fire going so the leopards don't come in and eat you.
Mm-hmm.
It was insane. And all you can do is just love on the people next to you. And that is really what I learned there. It was how to really, truly love these people and how to be loved. And these people, it's just absolutely something incredible for sure.
So when does that spiritual kind of strip
Oh.
happen?
Thanks for redirecting me. I get lost. Okay, so I would say your spiritual nudity, it's, you know what? I would say that the more stripped you get spiritually, the more change is induced. Therefore, the more discomfort you allow yourself to sit in, the more you somewhat like spiritually evolve. So I think it's individual. You know, some people never get it.
I was just going to ask that. Yeah.
Some people are like, this is still a prima donna opportunity. I'm a survivalist. Whatever.
Right.
We're human beings, and everybody has the capacity to learn.
Right.
Everybody has the capacity to learn new things and to apply those things in those kind of situations. And I don't think anybody should be putting anybody else down out there or saying that their skill set's not efficient enough or not up to par in comparison to somebody else. So there's quite some drama in the survivalism arena.
And I think that when people's backs are against the wall, so to speak, and in these places of desperation, you really do see the true side of them, whether they like it or not.
Yeah. There's a lot of crying, and then people lose their shit and freak out and have little come aparts. And I had multiple ones. I got really upset about the turtle stew. I was like, these people can cook their own damn turtle if they don't like how I'm cooking it. And I would get loud and obnoxious about it, but it's like you become a family, and you have to express those emotions or they're going to stay buried. And I figured that the more you would express it, just as long as I left people better than I found them initially, that I could pretty much express anything that I wanted as long as I wasn't harming people around me. And people were so responsive. I mean, the people out there were pretty incredible. So
that's
I
amazing.
think we were all on the same page. And so I was really lucky to be with the set of people I was with.
Was there an unexpected learning in the process?
Very much so. I learned out there that I don't know where my place is in a tribe sometimes. Who am I? I'm a mom. I'm an aspiring scientist. I want to be a professional woman, and I want to be, I still kind of want to be that edgy punk rocker, fun girl. But at the same time, I'm really just trying to move to the next level. ask me again, because I kind of lost my train of
No,
thought.
I mean, like, so what was the learning? What was the growth? And what was the
pretty
unexpected?
much like you said with your triathlon and your experience in Africa, that everything is so much small in comparison to the big picture, and that people need to take a step back and express more gratitude and stay in that mindset that this is a global humanity, that we are all in the same boat on the same floating rock, and that we need to be concerned about each other, and that we need to be grateful for what we have. So I would say that this has allowed me to become more of a compassionate person, a better friend, a better mother, a better member of the community. I realized that my body is not just mine. My body belongs to my tribe as well, just as it did out there. I had to keep myself in a good mindset and physically safe as well as healthy in order to take care of the people around me, to contribute. Yeah. Because we are all, a cog in this huge machine. So
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's not, your body's not just yours. It's your contribution.
It's your communities. It's your families. That, you got to preserve yourself so you could be of use to the people around you.
So any funny stories or mistakes, something you'd take back?
Oh, well, yeah, some funny stories. Okay. Well, Jacob, he'd always play good girl, bad girl. So he would like lay there and he was just like super sexy stud. And he'd lay there with his legs like this and he'd be like, good girl, bad girl. Good girl, bad girl. And so he'd play that and we'd
naked.
all laugh.
He was doing that naked.
Yeah. And then we would, we slept like dogs around the fire, so, it's head to ass, all of us. It's like this really gross, dirty, skinny, naked human centipede.
Right.
And everybody got to know everybody's buttholes. We knew what everybody's buttholes looked like. We knew how to have hemorrhoid. We had I had to have my friend Tawny pull a tick off my asshole because the ticks were so bad. They didn't even talk about that. We had tick bite fever. I mean, we were like down.
I feel like
out.
I saw that in like the outtakes at the end of the season or something, right?
Oh, it was horrendous. But anyways, yeah, if you couldn't find that tick on your butt, you had to have your friend.
That's like real friendship.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd do that for Jimmy, my husband. I'm really sure I'm not. I might not do that for pull a tick off his asshole. I don't know.
It depends, maybe.
I don't know.
I think you would.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if we were in Africa after 30 days. I don't know.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's about, like I told Clarence, it's just, man up and you take care of each other.
Yeah,
Phaedra.
no doubt.
Phaedra was like the, mama bear out there. And she was so sweet and so kind. And all exterior, she's very, I wish I had an image of her, but all exterior, she's just very kind of cold looking and very glamorous and so beautiful that she just probably seems like a huge bitch. You get out there and she was just so sweet. If somebody was cold, she would hold them. If you had thorns in your feet, she would get them out for you. So she was like our nurse. And it was like, we had this like little lion pride for a while, it was really nice when it was just Jake and the 4 girls. We had this really, really epic time. And then when the others started moving in, the dynamics changed. So it was very interesting. I think that, somebody who's studying for maybe a sociology thesis that might want to study this, because all the aspects that go into the dynamics and how we operate together put in this situation is extremely interesting. And it was a huge social experiment. And I don't think Discovery knows what they had on their hands. It's something they really could have, exploited in such a better way instead of making it so dramatized and dun, 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 It's just the way they did it. I would have done it different. You know? I would have live streamed it or, made it much more raw.
Right.
And put it, allow people to see what production's doing. They just put this curtain there, like they don't affect our hunt.
Right.
I mean, they're smelling it up with all their soaps and, when they're at base camp, they're not allowed to eat or drink in front of us or even wear perfumes because you could smell everything on them. But they would, the fact that they would come in, the animals smelt them, and then they'd follow us around making all kinds of noise with all this film equipment. How many times they blow our hunt?
Right.
And then we look like idiots.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So they made it really difficult, and then they don't even acknowledge their presence there. They just...
Right.
So it'd be nice to see something different. in the form of, the survivalism TV.
Sure. And not only that, and the skills that you guys all came to the table with.
Yeah.
And it almost seems as if there's people just hanging out and just trying to make it and survive. But really, there's so much that went into that.
Yes.
That survival too.
There's so many of us that did wilderness therapy for, federally and state funded, kids camps for troubled kids. They would take kids out and show them how to obtain skill sets that would boost their confidence and give them a better start in life. There's some of us that were, professional survivalists. Jake was a horse trainer. Darren just knows all this stuff because he lived on a reservation and he just hung out and rock climbed and just did the thing. I came from the streets of Southern California, grew up in punk rock culture. Most of the stuff I learned was from being in an abusive relationship, in my past. That stuff counts.
Sure.
And people shouldn't be so afraid to talk about those things either. Right. They should really just man up and say who they are and why they are so strong.
That's part of that nakedness, right?
Totally. And then, there was some of us like Phaedra. Phaedra, what an exception. She came from really, really strange, almost gypsy culture that traveled all over the Southwest. And she has some skills like roadkill harvesting. She makes things out of roadkill. She rescues cats.
That's amazing.
Stuff like that.
So if you could leave us with one word or one action item, what would it be?
One word or one action item, it would be is to sit in your discomfort and coddle your fears.
Sit in discomfort and coddle your fears. Thank you so much for being here. How can people get a hold of you?
You can reach me, well, of course, on all the social media sites, Instagram, goldenvalkyrie.com. Check out All Star Bushmasters. You could find me there, as well as Inward Survival. It's a new little resilience training business I started.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Let's get out to the shout out.
I'm Afobo Prosper, the CEO of Abusman Kutre Cooperative Credit Union in Ghana, West Africa. I'm listening to Brandi on Strategic Hotbox.
Thank you so much to Prosper from Ghana, and thank you to Stacey for being here. It's so exciting to talk about survival tips and being naked. So right now, let's talk about our top 5 kick-ass. Number 1 is just simply get naked. And I mean that both physically and metaphorically. Strip yourself of all the baloney that you carry around. Try to be more pure to who you are and recognize that there is more to this universe and life, and have a bit of a contextual alignment. If that means travel, but get out there and experience it and love this world for what it is. Number 2 is broaden that comfort zone. And I loved that Stacey mentioned that within 15 or 20 minutes, they were used to the physical nakedness. Some people were never used to the mental or spiritual, emotional nakedness. But the more discomfort that they felt, the more ability they were able to change and things like that. And so more that we can broaden our comfort zone, the more that we can learn and grow. Number 3 is value relationships. You said it. It's the tribe. It's the people that are around you. Love one another. We have it in our podcast for a reason. Learn, love, and kick ass. It's all about the people that are around you. Number 4 is learn some real survival skills. Whatever that means for you, be ready to survive in your situation, whether it's in the street, in relationships that you're in, or abusive relationships, whether it's out in the bush or in the wild, whether it's at the office and just dealing with hard discussions or conversations. Whatever it is that you need to know, learn to handle those situations and learn some real survival skills. And finally, toughen up. Toughen up, grit it up, get naked, make some of these things happen, and know that tomorrow will happen. That you can go out there and the world will be here tomorrow. Breathe and toughen up and rub some dirt on it. That's what I feel like. That's what we would say, right? Those are your top 5 kick-ass. thank you again to Stacey Osorio for being here. Thank you so much for, I don't feel like I blushed too much in your presence. I think I did. I think I did okay. If you have any thoughts or ideas for things for us to tackle on the Hotbox, if you want to get some more information on Stacey, head out to our website, thestrategichotbox.com, or hit us up at podcast@strategichotbox.com. As always, you can hit us up on Instagram, Twitter. If you want to find us, come get us. But until next time, get out there and kick some ass.